Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Shadow at Night. It's Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. On the show tonight, Pickering City Councillor Lisa Robinson. We're just texting each other here. She just got to her screen from a very busy day today. But I want to show you guys an article from the Toronto Star, came out yesterday. And I mean, it's clearly a flex by the left-wing corporate media to make her look bad, just like CTV News did to Pierre Poilievre yesterday, and we've got that story coming up. Also, there has been a motion of non-confidence moved in the House of Commons as of today. The vote will be tomorrow, and people are going, I don't know. We know the Bloc has come out and said, no, we're going to support the government. We know the NDP has said, no, we're going to come out and support the government. But are they? Are they? Especially with all of these scandals piling up and all of this money going to foreign entities. Trudeau announced another $5 billion today going out to different countries, including Haiti. And by the way, there is some Haiti news that you're probably not going to like, considering what's been going on in Springfield, Ohio for the past few months with that flood of Haitian asylum seekers. 20,000 of them that were added to a city of 50,000, creating quite a problem there. And some people have been alleging, including Donald Trump at the debate a couple of weeks ago, that dogs and cats, pets, they're eating pets. They're eating pets. Now, we did investigate that. And well, we have no smoking gun. I want to be very careful how I phrase this. We have no smoking gun of that happening. We have seen some questionable video. We've also caught the Springfield police in lies, and the bureaucracy, the city council of Springfield, in lies as well, claiming they haven't received any reports of pets having gone missing or cats being killed by Haitian immigrants. They lied about that. There's reports coming out the wazoo. Anyway, we'll get to all of that a little bit later on in the show tonight, which is brought to you by CanadaNanoSilver.com. That is CanadaNanoSilver.com. Before we bring Lisa on, I want to go to this article from the Toronto Star. And I don't even want to read the article. We'll let Lisa talk about what's in this. But obviously, it's a hatchet job by the left-wing corporate media. You know that the Toronto Star is probably the worst in the country outside of the Press Progresses and the Anti-Hate Network in terms of mainstream, as they used to call it, or let's call them the legacy or whatever media. They are the worst left-wing media organization in the country, in my opinion, probably worse than the CBC or any of the TV and radio networks. Anyway, this is the headline: a blight on the city. And look at the way they make her look. Look at that. Like, how did they get a picture like that? Lisa, okay, thanks. Like, she's obviously doing something else, or she's in the middle of a moment of terrible strife because of what this council and this mayor have been putting her through. Like, take a picture. A blight on the city. Pickering's controversial councillor Lisa Robinson has pay suspended over unacceptable behavior. Okay, let me give you the first paragraph because Lisa's here and I want her to be able to refute this. Controversial Pickering councillor Lisa Robinson has been hit with the steepest penalty available under provincial law following a series of transgressions that include denouncing Black History Month and aligning herself with a foreign politician known for espousing racist and Islamophobic views. In a combative council meeting Monday evening, Robinson's fellow councillors docked her 90 days' pay on the recommendation of the city's integrity commissioner, who found she's displayed a continued pattern of unacceptable behavior. Wow. That's become a rather hot button expression these last few years, hasn't it? It's the third sanction imposed on the rookie councillor for violating the city's code of conduct. This is Lisa Robinson. This is what she really looks like, by the way, you guys. Welcome back to the show, Lisa. Thank you for coming on tonight. I can't even... you know what? I played some of your video from YouTube on the show last night because I knew that you were coming on the show tonight, and I wanted people to be prepared for what was happening to you. So can you go into detail about how they've done this again to you? And what were you broadsided by this one, or were you kind of expecting it?
No, thanks for having me on your show again today. No, I was expecting it because, like, we get our agendas that come out on the Thursday night, and I don't usually look at it till the Friday because I like to have the paper copy in my hand. So I knew that that this was coming for sure. Yeah, but I didn't realize. I mean, I did know that my colleagues were going to do 90 days. I mean, they didn't have to do 90 days. They don't have to go by the Integrity Commissioner's report or suggestion. They could have said no, or they could have said, hey, you know what, let's give her some volunteer work. Or they could have said, hey, you know what, let's just dock her pay $100 every week. And then, until, 90 days is up. But no, they decide to, go right for the jugular and take away my pay for 3 months starting Friday, like right away. So I don't even have time to save money up, do anything. They're just taking it away.
So how is unacceptable behavior a thing? I mean, because I'm assuming that Christine Anderson is the politician they're referring to in that newspaper article, yeah?
Yes, that's exactly who they're referring to because, I showed up at one of her events over a year and a half ago when she was here in Toronto at the Christian college there. And then she was speaking in Ottawa at another event, and they had asked me to speak on stage with her, not with her, but at the same event, but on stage. And so I did a great speaking event there. And of course, some of these people that just don't like it, like my council members, they just want to sit there and condemn me for even, associating on the same stage with her. So, I mean, if I was in a bus stop and somebody took a picture of me and somebody in the bus stop, but if somebody didn't like that person, or let's say, that person was charged with something like, many, many years ago, all of a sudden I'll be known for associated with that type of person. Kind of like when I was in Ottawa a couple of weeks ago doing a speech at CPAC. And there were some people outside, some Indigenous people were having a conversations with white men. They called it Cowboys and Indians. And on some of their
wait a minute, hold on. Who called it Cowboys and Indians?
Well, they did. The Indigenous people, they were having like a peace gathering with the white man, let's say, right? So they had some shirts that said Cowboys and Indians. And inside of it, there was like a picture of, I'm going to say a swastika, but it's not a swastika, just so people understand. The opposite of the swastika when it first came out was used by people like, the Native Americans, by Buddhists. The Buddhists still have it. Hinduism, it's all very, very alive in their culture for peace and whatnot. And Hitler, of course, had taken that, switched it around to make it go the complete opposite way. But they, for example, had like a little emblem on the shirt because I guess they have that as part of their Indigenous clan that they use, their old symbol from the past. And I was going through the park and I came across these guys. I knew that they were having a rally later on in the day, but I was just coming back from breakfast and I was on my way back to the hotel and I saw them. So I stopped in track pants, no makeup, and I stopped. Someone took photos of me standing there speaking to them for a few minutes. And the next thing you know, it's all over social media that I am the leader of a Nazi party. So it's like, it's the rumors that just get spread no matter what. So of course, sharing a stage with Christine Anderson, again, they affiliate her with Nazis, with like, Islamophobic, everything else. So all of a sudden I get my docked pay because of that. It's insane what's happening at City Council.
How do they judge what is unacceptable behavior? I mean, in that article, they make you sound like a raving lunatic. Like you're running through City Hall with torches and threatening people and screaming and frothing at the mouth. I mean, that's how that comes across. And I'm sure they know that. But like who determines this?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, who does determine? And they're basing this, they're saying unacceptable behavior in that article was because of those 3 motions that I tried to bring forward before, that you only fly government flags on government buildings. Like, there should be age restrictions on all Pride events and drag queen story time. and that every man, woman, boy, and girl should have the right to choose whether to use a biological bathroom of their choice or to use the universal bathroom that would be inclusive of all genders and families. But because of those that were all lies in the first place that they attacked me on, and because I keep on speaking about them, they just keep on saying that this is unacceptable, and it's making me, yeah, that's how they're painting the picture. I even at the meeting last night when they were sanctioning my pay, I begged the mayor. I said, Mayor, just show me in one of my draft motions where I said I was against or I didn't want the universal bathroom. And he can't, because it's not true. You have me in a video saying exactly what my draft motions were. You have it on paper that went straight to the city of Pickering. So the first set of I see commissioner reports against me were all based on lies. And then it came down to their own personal views and their own personal opinions. And the same with this integrity commissioner report. And this integrity commissioner report was brought to me by the mayor, who I heard when I was in the city council in City Hall. And he asked city staff, his right-hand man, Mark Ginto, to speak to other staff. And I overheard him telling city staff on city taxpayer time to go through all of my social media, go through all of my op-eds, all of my videos, and find anything that you possibly can. Get all of it and just send it to the integrity commissioner to see basically what would stick. And so, of course, you know, they went through it, and Christine Anderson was there. And I have a nice picture of Christine Anderson and I up in my office. So because of that, I am such a horrible person, and I should have my pay dogs.
This integrity commissioner is as woke as it gets, right?
Oh, absolutely. She calls me a cis woman.
Right, right. So that's not going to get you any relief, obviously. Is there anybody, and I think I may have asked you this last time you were on, is there anybody on your side in there, or is it you against the world?
There's a lot of people actually that work at City Hall, employees that are on my side, because they send me letters, they get in contact with me that are on my side. But unfortunately, when it comes to my council members, no, they're all definitely left leaning, I would have to say. And they stick together, because if anyone was to side with me, they're going to be called the same names that I'm being called. Nobody's willing to go through that, because, you know, they don't really stand up for the people. They care more about securing their job in the next election. They care more about going to photo opportunities than they do the actual people. So nobody is going to stand with me. So they just band together, become yes nodders, because if they don't, you know what, they're going to have a target on their back as well.
I wonder if they really know what they're doing. I mean, this is cultural Marxism at its worst, right? They are trying to cancel you. They're doing everything they can to shut you up. They are sanctioning you. They are now suspending you again. They're taking away your money. They're doing everything they can. Is there any relief that you can see? Is there anything at all that you can do? The integrity counselor is obviously a lost cause. Is there anything you, like the provincial government? Can you go to them? Can you go to a lawyer? Can you sue these people individually outside of politics for libel? Is there anything?
Yeah, I'm looking into the whole suing them outside as a revenue right now. I just finished my judicial review from the first set of sanctions from last year that ended last week, and I think it seemed really positive. But, you know, it's hard to fight against the municipal government as well, because, you know what, they allocated up to $200,000 to fight me for a judicial review in court, just so I could get back my $15,000 plus salary that they took from me for these sanctions that were all based on lies in the first place. So, you know, does that make sense to you? They're spending $200,000 of taxpayers' money instead of giving me $15,000 plus that they should give me for my salary. Because don't forget, I still need to work while this is happening, right? Or, you know, they could actually kick me out of government. And so I actually made the comment that, you know what, I feel like I'm a modern day slave because I am working and I'm not getting any remuneration. Well, of course, that goes into the Integrity Commissioner report. How dare me, you know, speak of myself as being a modern day slave against, like, you know, the Black community. That's how they phrased it. So because I said I'm a slave, a modern day slave, I'm speaking poorly of marginalized communities, and that's how they twist the narrative, and that's how they frame it, and that's how the Toronto Star decides to run with it.
Yes. Do you have to go? Are there mandatory critical theory meetings at City Hall in Pickering at all? Like, people are required to go to these things, and the reason I ask that is because that's right out of the intersectional playbook, what you just said there, the critical race theory playbook. Like, everybody's a victim and anything you say is a microaggression, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering if there are, you know, weekly or bi-weekly things that the staff have to go to at the risk of losing their job or being suspended. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that as of yet, but then again, like, you know, I'm not on the administrative side of it. So, I mean, it could be happening. I am aware, though, because I had to go to a DEI training session a few weeks ago, first thing in the morning. All of council had to participate in it. And honestly, I just sat there and I was like, do I really have to listen to this? Because personally, I think DEI, in my opinion, means nothing more than division, exclusion, and indoctrination. And that's how I look at DEI. I mean, even if you were to say somebody's a DEI hire, you're going to get in trouble for that, even though that's exactly what they are. So they get mad at it if you call them that. They get mad if you don't. It's like, you know, you just can't win half of these times.
So what about your constituents? I mean, how do you explain this to them? You got to go door knocking now if people called you or emailed you with support or asking where their representation within council is now?
Well, you know what? I am getting a lot of emails. I do get a lot of phone calls of people of support saying, Lisa, don't stop. You know, I do have my Give Send Go page set up to get me through the next 3 months because, like, they want to see me lose my house. That's exactly what they want to do. And, like, you know, again, like, I'm a single mom with a child, a mortgage, car payments, like, it's just a regular person and no other sources of income coming in. And so they want to see me step down. They want me to, you know, have my tail between my legs and start becoming a yes nodder and just, like, you know, following their narrative and their status quo, which I will refuse to do because I have too much integrity, too much honesty, and I'm not going to take a knee to them at all. And the funny thing is, too, is, like, you know, I am now seriously working without pay. Tonight, we had a community vision and priorities thing, which we called Pickering Forward, over at our Chestnut Hill Recreation Center, which has to do with, like, you know, the plan of Pickering moving forward, like the official plan. Well, guess who's the only counselor in attendance tonight? And that's why I got to your show, like, you know, with let's 5 minutes to spare, if that, was because I was spending my time there with the people trying to see what they want the future of Pickering to be like. And I was the only counselor that showed up. Even the mayor didn't show up.
You're doing it for free.
I'm doing it for free. And I'm still going out there and making sure that, you know, everything gets done for the people right now.
As a side question, what is this plan? Is it part of the UN agenda? Is it all to do with ICLEI and the Partners for Climate Protection? Have you seen any of that in there?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You see it trickling down. You see it in all the different paperwork. And I keep on calling them out for it. And they keep on telling me that, you know, I'm a conspiracy theorist, or, like, you know, stop going down the rabbit hole, you know, Councillor Robinson, or, you know, Crazy Street, and then calls. And then we have the mayor, he sits there, and the rest of council. Anybody who does not follow their narrative, they call them the same names. He openly calls them nutcases over hot mics during council meetings. You know, it's really disgusting. And yet, you know, you put in a complaint against that, which many members of the community have, to the Integrity Commissioner, because he's openly calling them names. And of course, they don't get any reports against them. The Integrity Commissioner says, nope, I'm not going to even bother doing anything about that, and sweep it underneath the rug.
Have you ever fought back against them? I mean, because all of the names that you get called, have you ever stood up and said, you're a bully? Because that's essentially what they are, right? I mean, they say they outlawed bullying years ago, but that's not true. It's just now that these weak asses are the bullies.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And like I said, I filled out integrity commissioner reports myself too, for bullying, intimidation, for sexual harassment, psychological harassment, all of the above. And of course, they send it back and they say, oh, well, Councillor Robinson, we think that you're being retaliatory. So we're not going to follow any of these alleged accusations that you are making. So it's like, how long do I have to wait now to put in a complaint against my mayor or fellow councillor that they're not going to think that it's being retaliatory, even though I have the proof? I mean, we have videos, we have voice recordings of Councillor Brenner saying, he would like to sharpen his sword and decapitate the mother bleep. We have him on a voice recording saying that. We have him telling me openly that I've told the integrity commissioner, the CAO, the mayor, everybody on staff, our city solicitor, that, he had the same Councillor Brenner has said to me, Lisa, I could put a knife in your back, I could slowly twist it, and you would never know until I was getting ready to pull it out. And of course, I put that in the integrity commissioner report, and again, just swept underneath the rug like it didn't happen.
So what are you going to do for the next few months? I mean, I know you've got your Give, Send, Go, and I put the link, by the way, in the comments of all of our platforms tonight so that people can maybe throw a few bucks your way just to keep you going. But is there something else that you can do?
Well, I do sell real estate. I just haven't been out there selling it because I have been really, really busy working for the people. Right. And like I said, even tonight, and, my son is telling me, he's like, Mom, just go back out there and forget about the people, start making money for you and your family. And I'm like, well, I need to do that. But you know what? I am also a public servant. And just because they take my money away does not mean I'm going to stop working for the people. And I know that other sanctions are going to come down and they're just going to keep on taking away my money. I'll probably end up working for the next 2 years for free for the people because that's what they want to do, because they want me to step down. But they don't realize if I haven't stepped down by now, I'm not going to step down. So, it's a definition of insanity, right? They're going to keep on doing the same thing over and over again. I'm going to keep on, standing my ground.
I wonder how much they hate that. Seriously, it's just got to be like a stick it in the craw, right? Like one of those birds you just can't get rid of, and that's what you are to them. So keep doing what you're doing because you're irritating them. At the very least, you're irritating them. I think at worst to them, you are definitely a threat, and that's why they keep, aiming their guns, so to speak, at you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sunday night, actually, I dropped a video on my YouTube channel because it had to do with them going to be doing the 90-day sanction. And within that 11-minute video, I bring in other parts of video. So like, for example, the mayor said on our September 3rd meeting that he is biased towards me. So he actually admitted that he's biased towards me. So this integrity commissioner should, the whole entire report should be thrown out the window, let's say, because he's admitting that he's biased to me. In the same meeting, he also said that he didn't want to hear anything that I had to say. And then, because I do like to speak my opinion, but a lot of times it's my constituents' opinion, I added in another clip where he's up there on the diocese and he says, oh, that's a great privilege of, being an elected official, is that I get to have my own personal opinion. Well, it's like, isn't that a little bit hypocrisy going on there? Because he can have his opinion, but I can't. And so it's a great video if anybody wants to watch it. And then he starts yelling. And I mean, you can see the veins popping on his head because I guess I get him going. So, yeah, they hate the fact that I keep on going on podcasts and doing my own videos. It drives them insane. I am a thorn in his side, just like you said.
Do you think you could be the mayor or some other political, like maybe an MPP or an MP? We talked about this last time, but have you looked any more into that in the last month or so?
No, I haven't looked any more into it. I would love to be the MP, absolutely, because, with my views and, my following, it would be quite It would be very, very good for me to be underneath Pierre Poilievre at this time. Absolutely. But if that doesn't work out, then no, I definitely want to be able to run as the mayor for mayor. Yeah. And I bet you if we were to have an election tomorrow, I could almost guarantee hands down that I would be the new mayor of Pickering. And then what I would do is I would tear it down. I would get rid of a lot of the staff who I know that are corrupt and the collusion that's going on. And I would literally build it back up from the bottom up, and I would give it back to the people because that's where it belongs. I mean, this is grassroots municipal level, and it needs to be given back to the people. We need to stop with this. And if I could actually be successful and do that here in Pickering, I bet you would see it happen like dominoes at all other municipalities across Ontario or even Canada.
I believe you're right. Lisa, thank you again for coming on tonight. It's a pleasure to have you on. We'll have you back. Keep us up to date, okay?
Sure will.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks again for having me. Take care.
Yeah. We'll talk to you again. There is Lisa Robinson. She's a suspended city councillor now with Pickering, Ontario. Amazing the things they do to her. It's outrageous. And I put the links for her Give, Send, Go in the comments on all of the social media, I think, except for Telegram. So if you want to throw her a few bucks through Give, Send, Go, you're more than welcome to. She's not going to be paid through the city for the next 3 months. The next 3 months. Okay, so you guys know about Bill C-293. I just saw this come out, a news release from the government of Canada about 3 hours before the show went live tonight. So I haven't really had time to digest this at all. I've had a quick glance of it, and that's about it. So we can read this together, and let's call it for the first time. Federal government, and the only reason I'm aware of this is because I saw something on Twitter from the health minister and the Minister for Innovation. So I went, well, what is this? And so I went and found it, glanced at it, and then got ready for the show. So here it is. Federal government launches Health Emergency Readiness Canada to strengthen preparedness for future health emergencies. Ooh, it's another government bureaucracy, another department they're going to have to staff. New agency will provide sustained focus on growing innovation and industrial capacity in the life sciences and biomanufacturing sector to support Canada's health emergency readiness. So biomanufacturing. Let me see. Oh, vaccines. Vaccine. The COVID-19 pandemic has had devastating effects on Canadians and their livelihoods. By the way, the BC NDP had a field day today on social media against Conservative Party leader John Rustad because of comments he made on CTV News yesterday regarding so-called vaccines. We're going to get to that. Anyway, that's why the federal government is taking action to be better prepared for future health emergencies and build a stronger life sciences ecosystem in Canada. This looks like it has a lot to do with Bill C-293. Today, the Honorable Francois-Philippe Champagne, who's corrupt, by the way, Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry, and the Honorable Mark Holland, Mr. Climate Change himself, Minister of Health. Remember that climate change rant he had about parents, leave your kids in the car for 8 hours and watch the world burn? What's the matter with these people? Seriously. Anyway, they jointly announced the launch of this Health Emergency Readiness Canada agency, or HERC, as they're calling it. A new federal organization within Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada, dedicated to protecting Canadians against future pandemics and delivering on Canada's life sciences and medical countermeasures readiness objectives. HERC will serve as Canada's focal point to help mobilize industry to respond in a coordinated approach to public health needs and to support the growth of a domestic life sciences sector. This new organization will bridge the gap between research and commercialization, meaning Canadians could get faster, get faster access to the most relevant and effective vaccines, therapeutics, diagnostics, and other products, including when they need them the most. Once HERC is fully operational, its key features are expected to include integrated decision-making to build life sciences capacity, strengthen partnerships with industry, academia, and international counterparts, the development and maintenance of a Canadian industrial game plan to mobilize research and industry in the event of a health emergency. Oh, man. World-leading innovation to advance next-generation technology platforms. With the creation of this new agency, Canada joins G7 peers that have created specialized entities to support health emergency readiness, following similar initiatives such as the United States Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority and the EU's Health Emergency Preparedness and Response Authority. So does that have anything to do with Bill C-293 and the World Health Organization's new plan of taking sovereignty from countries under emergency health conditions whenever they declare a pandemic? Probably. But right now, I don't believe the Liberals have much longer in their term, whether it's all the way to next October or whether it's an election come the new year, like January, or whether it's this year. I mean, Pierre Poilievre made a motion today for a vote of non-confidence in the House of Commons. CTV did something absolutely egregious. We're going to get to that in just a second. And you know, the interesting thing about what they did, excuse me, is I saw it when it happened and I went, this is outrageous. I'm going to put together a video on it. And then I saw Andrew Scheer did it, so I don't have to. I'll just play Andrew Scheer's video in a couple of minutes. In the meantime, here is the story from National Post. Poilievre pledges to bring back the promise of Canada as he tries to trigger an early election. Now, we know it's probably not going to work because the Bloc has said we're voting with the government. The NDP has said the same thing. Pierre Poilievre pledged to bring back the promise of Canada if he forms government, but he failed to convince other opposition parties to support his motion to force this snap election. Poilievre introduced his non-confidence motion against Trudeau today. As I mentioned, the Bloc and the NDP have already said they're not going to vote with it. The problem, and now this is different MPs from different parties talking here. The problem that I have with this motion is that it's too simple. What? It seems to me that we could have supported it with something more relevant, said Bloc MP Sébastien Lemaire. Why do you, I mean, you've got any number of dozens of things that the Trudeau government has done in the last 9 years. Pick one. In a speech to the House of Commons, Poilievre outlined his reasons for wanting an election and replacing the Liberal government, spoke about how Canada made him a promise when he was born, and how it was kept with his own upbringing as an adopted child by 2 school teachers. He said that promise was also kept for his wife, Aneda, who came to this country as a refugee. He also said that promise was made to every Canadian, not just himself. I mean, the way this article sounds, they make it look like Poilievre is somehow anointing himself above other people, which he did not do. Poilievre did say the promise was that anyone from anywhere could do anything, that hard work would earn a powerful paycheck. Poilievre said that it was that promise that got him into politics in the first place, and that he was very proud to have been part of the Harper government that not only kept the promise, but expanded it with maintaining low inflation, cutting the GST, and balancing the budget. I would like to do the exact same things in the future, which is to expand the opportunity, expand the promise of this country. Okay. So we have the motion that was introduced by Poilievre today. The vote is going to be tomorrow. Now, regarding CTV, what did they do? Here is opposition House Leader Andrew Scheer with a great video he put up on YouTube earlier this morning.
It's no wonder distrust in the media is at an all-time high. It's because Canadians are seeing more and more examples of how they twist the truth. But this one takes the cake. I've never seen anything like this. CTV News just got caught creating fake news. They were trying to promote a government talking point, and they took a clip of Pierre Poilievre making a statement about the carbon tax and giving Canadians a carbon tax election, and they spliced it together to do this.
While the continuation of the plan appears safe for now, the events of the last week have raised new questions over the plan's future.
That's why we need to put forward a motion.
The Conservatives announced a non-confidence vote.
That's why it's time to put forward a motion for a carbon tax election. That's why it's time we need to put forward a motion for a carbon.
The Conservatives
tax
announced a
election.
non-comp.
Pierre never actually said that sentence. This is the lengths that they'll go to try to protect the Liberals and take your attention off of the carbon tax and all the damage it's doing to Canadians. This is what Conservatives are up against, not just the Liberals and NDP, but their friends in the media, the bought and paid for parliamentary press gallery that will do everything they can to present Liberal policies in a favorable light and make you believe things that aren't even true about the Conservatives. Next time you see a CTV news broadcast painting Conservatives in a negative light, ask yourself this one question. Did that even really happen?
You know, he brings up an interesting point. Did that even really happen? We're going to get rid of this. Here is the apology that CTV put out on their Twitter. Last night, in a report on this broadcast, we presented a comment by the official opposition leader, Pierre Poilievre, that was taken out of context. It left viewers with the impression the Conservatives' non-confidence motion was to defeat the Liberals' dental care program. In fact, the Conservatives have made it clear the motion is based on a long list of issues with the Liberal government, including the carbon tax. A misunderstanding during the editing process resulted in this misinterpretation. Oh, no. We unreservedly apologize to Mr. Poilievre and the Conservative Party of Canada. We regret this report went to air in the manner it did. A misunderstanding during the editing process resulted in this misinterpretation. My friends, I'll tell you something, that the editing process is a very meticulous process. The editing process is meant to shorten things, to make them more concise, so they have the time to get the message out. What this was a hatchet job and a rearranging of what he was actually getting out there. What he meant and what they put out there were two completely different things. You can't tell me that you didn't do that on purpose, because if it's an accident, you are completely incompetent. Completely and totally journalistically incompetent. Did you know you did it? In that case, you're dishonest. Either way, you are not to be trusted by Canadians about anything anymore. Pierre Poilievre also said something before that video was edited. On his Twitter yesterday, he said that CTV is protected by Justin Trudeau. So the next time you call and you're put on hold for 2.5 or 3 hours to Bell to complain about a bad connection on your phone or an overblown bill or whatever, you can blame Justin Trudeau for that, because Bell Media, Bell Phones, Bell Media owns CTV. Trudeau's got to deal with them, Poilievre said. He said this publicly, and here's the deal. Trudeau protects Bell Media in order to get the good press coverage. Poilievre said that publicly. This is something I've been saying for years and years and years and years. And it's not just Bell, it's Rogers, it's all of them, CBC especially. But they're all in bed in some way, shape, or form with Justin Trudeau. And speaking of Justin Trudeau, here he is on Twitter. He's still at the UN, by the way. I'm sure he'll be back for that non-confidence vote tomorrow. The situation in Haiti, gang violence, severe hunger, and instability is dire. At the UN, I outlined, now listen to this, and I'm going to ask you guys in the comments, I'm going to read them. I'm going to try and read them here. What this says to you, what this tweet says to you. At the UN, I outlined how Canada is uniting with the international community around the goal of safety and security for the Haitian people. Supporting the work of Prime Minister Conil Gary's interim government to bring Haiti back to a more democratic and prosperous path. delivering immediate food, medicine, and humanitarian aid alongside the Red Cross, and combating organized crime, keeping young people from being drawn into its networks. What does that say to you? Diane says Trudeau is selling Canadians out. Simple. Steve, hang on. I want to get Steve. See, you guys are going too fast now. Steve, look what Steve said. Steve's watching on X. Cats. I think Trudeau is planning on bringing a whole new bunch of asylum seekers to Canada, and I think they're Haitians. So he's bringing some strays home from New York. Look, it's my opinion that Trudeau and his minions are going to do whatever they can while they're still in power to create as much disruption in this country as they possibly can. All right, that's part of their New World Order plan. It comes down from Klaus Schwab, and I'm not sure who he gets it from because there's still a few layers above him. But this is what Trudeau is going to do. He's also going to make things so awful for the Conservatives when they finally get into power that they're going to have to spend the first mandate they get fixing all of the crap that they've broken and not be able to do the things they want to do. Look at this. Trudeau wants another new ministry, another new government. We just told you this new HERC thing that they're doing for health and pandemics. So Poilievre is going to have to undo all of this craziness, all of this bloated government bureaucracy. He's going to have to get rid of all of this. I'm not even sure how long it would take him to do all of this. If we are sitting here, you know, the day that Poilievre gets elected, whenever that happens to be. Now, first of all, there's a lot of people that don't even believe Poilievre is going to do anything anyway. He's not going to do what he says he's going to do. He's a Manchurian candidate, is what people are saying. I don't believe that, but I do believe he'll be limited in the things he can do based upon the Senate. Even though there is the Salisbury Doctrine that will stop the Senate from stopping Poilievre if Poilievre mentions what he wants to do on his platform or in public or in the House of Commons. But that's a whole other thing. You guys can look that up yourselves. But also the bureaucracy, the deep state is going to slow walk a lot of the Conservative policies, the things that he wants to get accomplished or undone. So it's going to take him a while to do it. The day he gets elected, it's not going to mean that Bill C-63 or Bill 293 or Bill C-18, C-11, all of those, they're going to get undone overnight. That's not going to happen. However, what he could say is, hey, look, we're not going to enforce this crap. So even though these laws exist, we're not going to do anything about them. The cops do it all the time. All the time. This is an oldie but a goodie. Now, I understand that Kevin O'Leary is not the best guy in the world. Mr. Wonderful has done some pretty awful things, but he does know his finances, he does know his business, and he does know what Justin Trudeau is all about. This clip goes back to last year, December.
Canada is the richest country on earth run by idiots. And I hate to say that as a Canadian because I have a passport,
right,
but I'm also Irish and I'm also Emirati. He is one of the most successful politicians in history. He's been in that seat forever. He has zero executional skills. He is a horrible manager. He perhaps is the worst manager Canada's ever been under. The absolute worst. It can't get worse. Absolutely a -10.
If you have employees, you need to check out the ERC program, Chef Wonderful. Why, Mr. Wonderful? Because it's cash flow that you don't have to pay back. Good to know. This guy's so smart and so handsome. Go to wondertrust.com to see if you're eligible.
I thought they might be coming back to finish that off, but I guess not. So this is a Substack from the Cultural Action Party of Canada's newsletter. We're not going to go through the whole thing. We're just going to give you the basics of it. And really, I guess all we need to know or see here is the headline. Trudeau delivers $5 billion of our dollars to non-Canadian causes at the UN Assembly Conference. So not only are we going to get a whole new crop of asylum seekers, probably Haitians, he's taken $5 billion of our dollars down there to disperse amongst people he finds needy as our cities burn. Like, It's really amazing to me. Those of us born and raised in the Western world, Brad Salzberg says, may recall the story of Robin Hood and his infamy for taking from the rich and giving to the poor. Focusing on the Prime Minister of Canada at the United Nations Assembly Conference this week, concerned citizens want to revise the phrase that to brand Justin Trudeau a robbing hood. Who knew that the role of a prime minister is to run around the world throwing multi-billions of Canadian dollars at causes he cares about most? That these causes are devoid of benefit to citizens of Canada should be understood by all. Due to media obfuscation, it's never been presented in plain language. Take, for example, Trudeau's taxpayer-funded trip for the purposes of promoting himself to the world. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Oh, by the way, that appearance last night on Colbert, I watched video of that today. That was embarrassing. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has reaffirmed his commitment to the United Nations 2030 agenda and pledged $5 billion in Canadian taxpayer dollars in attempts to achieve it. That's his commitment, as opposed to a commitment endorsed by the citizens of this country. When it comes to our woke prophet of globalism, it's truly all about him. I don't think we need to go on with that story anymore. You get the point. We all know what's going on. This is what it looks like. Tommy Robinson, official on Gab, posted this. This is not from Canada. This is not from the United States. This is not even from the UK. This is from Spain. When boats filled with illegal immigrants aren't landing straight onto Spanish beaches, the socialist government are flying them in. 3,000 fighting-age Africans arrive at the airport, which is closed to the public, whilst the treachery is played out. All now in hotels, Robinson says, and here is video of that. Is anybody scared? Is anybody concerned about what is going on? Not just in Canada, all across the Western world. Is there anybody out there that is scared or concerned? I'm not talking to you guys, those of you who have been with me since the beginning, those of you who have been fighting this fight since the beginning, because you guys all know your eyes have been open for a long time right now. For those of you who are relatively new to everything that you're seeing here on this show, are you concerned? If you're not concerned, you should be concerned. Because this is going on all around us right now. Mass migration due to climate change, they're telling us. They never really give us reasons. And when we do push them, which is very rarely, they tell us it's climate change. These people are displaced because of climate change. Rising waters, rising oceans. Or war, that's a big one as well. But who causes these wars? They do. All right, so if you want to talk about gaslighting, government gaslighting, or political gaslighting, let's call it, because that's what Lisa Robinson and I were talking about earlier here on the show. This is what happened on X today after what John Rustad, the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of British Columbia, said yesterday on, you guessed it, CTV British Columbia, when he was talking about vaccines. He says he regrets it, getting these so-called vaccines. Let's hear what he had to say here.
I've had 3 shots of the vaccine. I wish I hadn't, quite frankly. It wasn't so much about trying to get herd immunity or trying to stop the spread, but it was more around shaping opinion and control on the population.
How will he react to a measles outbreak in British Columbia? What will he say? Will he encourage people to get vaccinated? Measles kills kids.
So that's David Eby, the current premier of British Columbia. Measles kills kids. Hey, look, he might be right in saying that, but it is such a small fraction of a percentage point that there's no point in getting another one of these vaccines. Do you remember growing up and wanting to get the measles so you can get a week off school? I had measles growing up. I had German measles. I had the mumps. I had all the childhood maladies except for chickenpox. And I got chickenpox when I was 25 from my kid. Never any vaccination for that stuff. But now it's like, what, 63 shots on the vaccine schedule? And there's David Eby. Measles kills kids. Maybe in third world countries. But up here, it is so extremely rare for something like that to happen that there's no point in getting yet another shot for it. And he somehow equates these measles shots with what John Rustad said about the COVID vaccine, which is like comparing measles and mumps. They're two completely different diseases. Anyway, what the BC NDP did today was they took that ball and they ran with it all over social media, painting John Rustad as a right-wing extremist, a COVID denier, all of the playbook that came out a couple of years ago that they use in climate change, that they use with trans, they use with Palestine, they all of that stuff, all of this playbook, they're using it again. And speaking of the COVID-19 vaccine, and by the way, I'm also glad that Rostad came out and said that, and I do believe there's going to be a lot of people who actually support him, but I guess we'll have to wait and see for the next BC provincial polling. That election is coming up very, very soon. This is Dr. Christine Northrup in a video clip talking about luciferase, which is allegedly one of the ingredients in these genetic therapies. According to Dr. Northrup at a health conference recently, the airport knows if you've had the vaccine or not due to not picking up a trace of this said luciferase. So forget having a tracking device with you, your phone, as they now can track you through what's been put into your body. Let's listen to what she says here.
Is luciferase, SM102, that can track you. A friend just reported she had one of those fake vaccine slave passports and went through the thing at the airport for an international flight. What they said to her is, we know you didn't have the vaccine. You know why? Because they got stuff in there to track you. Also, I just learned from Dr. Ryan Cole that in order to get the mRNA into your cells, they needed to change something in your immune system so that it would no longer recognize the fake mRNA, the synthetic mRNA, as an invader. So there's a thing called toll-like receptors. They changed one nucleotide, and it then shuts down your innate immunity. And so what we're seeing in medicine is you get the shot and you get shingles comes back up. People who are in remission from cancer are getting cancer. It is overwhelming. Okay, they also contain kidney, fetal DNA, optic nerve, or I think it's something from the eye of an aborted fetus and something from the lung of an aborted fetus.
There you go.
Also contains polyethylene glycol. 70% of people are allergic to it, so it creates anaphylaxis. The other thing that they have is polysorbate 80. This is an emulsifier to get things across the blood-brain barrier that the blood-brain barrier given to you by God is supposed to keep out. It also contains spions. This is magnification, magnetic iron oxide particles.
So, you know, that's an older video. These guys, these things have been known to us for a very long time. And I found it very disturbing today that the NDP in British Columbia would take the comments of the Conservative Party leader about the vaccine, so-called vaccine, whatever it was he called it, and start calling him a science denier again, going right back to 2021. And while I find it disturbing what they did, and what they're doing is following an age-old, tried and true political practice, which is repeat a lie enough times, loudly enough, and people will believe it's the truth. That's what they're doing. It's a blitz, and you're about to see this in just a second regarding Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew and his NDP party here in Manitoba, because he's recently expelled one of his caucus members for working at the same law firm that represented Nygaard, Peter Nygaard, in his court case. So it's guilt by association. But the NDP, this is probably used more by the left than the right, but the right uses it as well. They will pile on the same way that the left does, but not with the numbers and not with the zeal that the left uses it. The left is out of control, and I'm sure you've noticed that yourself. Before we get to that, I want to talk about this story here because it came out today. It's another thing about the vaccine. And this is also something I find astounding, that these political parties, as dishonest as they are, have they not picked up a study at all in the last 3 years that shows exactly what this gene therapy is all about and what it's been doing to people? Are they completely and totally in denial that this thing has harmed and killed so many thousands, even millions of people across the world? Are they still clinging to that narrative? And I'm wondering, more importantly, do people believe them? Do people believe them? Because if people believe them, still like the majority, then we're in trouble. If they're on our side, we're in good shape. Anyway, the headline on this Slay article, obviously, as you can see, COVID-vaccinated children have damaged immune system. Study warns. This is what Dr. Byron Bridle told us 3 years ago. A disturbing peer-reviewed study has found that children who received the COVID mRNA vaccines, quote unquote, have damaged immune systems. A group of leading researchers in Germany analyzed a group of children between 5 and 11 after they received a second dose of Pfizer. They found the kids had heightened levels of a type of antibody that indicated they had an altered immune system response. The issue meant the children were facing a greatly increased risk of cancer and other deadly diseases. Researchers hoped the altered immune system was a temporary response to the second dose of the shot. The researchers analyzed the same group of children again 1 year after the second shot in the hope that their immune systems had recovered. However, the researchers found the children still had heightened antibody levels, suggesting their immune systems may have suffered long-term damage or even be permanently altered. The new peer-reviewed study was conducted by a team of German researchers led by Dr. Robin Kobb with the Institute for Infection Research and Vaccine Development at the University Medical Center Hamburg-Eppendorf in Germany. You guys can find that article for yourself on slay.news. All right, we're about to go to the extension, but before we do, this is that MLA I was just telling you about, this Manitoba MLA, former NDP MLA, now independent MLA, who was booted from caucus last week by the Premier Wab Kinew, because this guy here, Mark Wasselu, worked at the same law firm as another lawyer who was representing Peter Nygaard in his case. Amazingly, even though I guess Wab Kinew doesn't understand that everybody, even the most notorious people in this country, deserve a defense. We're not going to play you the whole 30 minutes of this press conference, but we are going to listen to the first 8 or 9 minutes, and then we'll go to the extension for all access, because I'm going to tell you all about Wab Kinew, the Premier of Manitoba, a guy who has actually made it to the leadership position of a Canadian province. It's absolutely amazing. It's amazing, the smear job that they've done on this guy here, Mark Wasselu, and how they have completely and totally glorified Wab Kinew, considering who he really is. Here is independent Manitoba MLA Mark Wasselu at a press conference earlier.
I have a statement this morning, and then I would be happy to answer any of your questions. On April 13th, 2023, there was an incident at the Manitoba Legislature between MLA Abi Khan and Wab Kinew. If you look at the surveillance video, you'll see that I was directly behind the two men in the second row and had a clear, unobstructed view at what occurred. In fact, I was probably one of the primary witnesses as to what occurred on that day. And I want to correct the record as to what occurred, and I have some apologies I want to give this morning. So essentially what had happened, this was Turban Day. It was NDP sponsored.
He's still wearing a Ukraine pin there. So this incident that he is discussing, and he's going to describe it in just a couple of minutes. It's like I say, it's about 1.5 years ago. My question, my first question would have been, why didn't you do something then? Why didn't you speak out? Again, this guy here, he is a socialist. This guy he believes in everything the NDP believes in. Well, maybe not everything. But to his credit, as this goes on, he will take blame for his part in all of this. Let's continue.
Event, and some of my colleagues were speaking. Obi Khan was the Minister of Sport, Culture and Heritage and was invited by caucus to give some comments. He took the podium and pointed out the fact that he was speaking in front of an NDP banner and that all banners of the legislature should have been present. He then walked over to Wab Kinew, who was directly in front of me. I saw Wab at that point extend his hand, grab his hand, and pull it into his body. He locked his elbow, and I could see the tension in his hand that he had gripped in sort of like a really strong grip of his hand. He leaned forward. His face was twisted and contorted. He was angry and agitated, and he was doing most of the talking. I could see MLA Khan's face was shocked and horrified. I could see him physically lean back away from Wab Kinew, and I could see him trying to pull his hand away and release his grip. And it was
all right. Now, so the one thing about this that doesn't ring true to me, I'm not sure if any of you guys know Obi Khan, maybe the ones from Manitoba watching the show. Obi Khan is about 6'6", and during his football career weighed roughly 325 pounds. He's significantly lighter than that now, but he's still 6'6", and he still probably weighs about 260 or 270, and he is solid muscle. So how is it that he couldn't just pull himself away from Wab Kinew, who is significantly smaller and not as strong as he is? Maybe he didn't want to make a scene in front of all of those people at the Turban Day event. But that is the one thing about this story that doesn't ring true to me. But then again, why would Wassiliou, an NDP member at the time of this incident, he was watching the whole thing happen, why would he lie about it now? It doesn't make any sense unless it's sour grapes. But it does, the story anyway, keep in character with Wab Kinew and his history. He does have a temper, and we have heard rumblings that the Manitoba legislature, since he took over, has been a place of incredible toxicity. Let's continue on with this.
It was clear that Wab Kinew was not allowing him to release the grip and was holding him in place until he had finished saying to him what he had said. And so Mr. Khan had made some other allegations about Wab giving him a what I would term a hockey elbow when they two separated and pushed off. I did not see that. Wab Kinew's back was to me and obstructed my view at that point. Although I can tell you that Wab did most of the talking, and it was in an agitated, angry manner. I could not actually hear the substance of what was being said. There was a speaker at that time, and it was very loud. So essentially, that's what occurred. Now, what happens next may be of interest to the public as well. I get a call from Rebecca Whitcomb, who is now the Deputy Chief of Staff and was a press officer for the Manitoba NDP at that time. They had reviewed the surveillance video and knew that I was a witness to the incident. The request made from me at that time was to go on social media and basically refute MLA Abi Khan's claims and to basically cast dispersions on MLA Abi Khan. At that time, I told Ms. Widdicombe what I just told you here today. I told them that I would not lie for Wab, and that if the media had asked me, I would give them the version of events that I just gave you. Her response to me was, well, we don't want that. I subsequently learned that she called other MLAs I don't know if it was evening or shortly after, and posts were made and there was sort of a social media pileup of Mr. Khan. You also had Wab go to the legislature immediately afterward, because this was at lunchtime, it was just before question period. And he tried to get ahead of the story and denied any wrongdoing. And in my view, clearly lied on the floor of the Manitoba legislature, and then lied when he left the chamber and maintained that story. Wab Kinew had a choice. He could have accepted responsibility for his bizarre and strange actions that day, and in my respectful view, meet the criminal definition of an assault. But he didn't. But more troubling still, the people around him in the leader's office, and those people are still there today. In fact, they've been given significant positions of authority, doubled down on the lie, even though they had an eyewitness from their own caucus telling them that Abi Khan was telling the truth. Despite knowing the truth, they orchestrated a cover-up. They orchestrated a campaign to smear Abi Khan, call him a liar, and to try to discredit him in these circumstances.
Okay, so that's what's going on in BC right now. Just go on your X. I mean, if you've got an X account, just go on your X and you'll be flooded with the same three messages. They're repeating the same three messages. Every single candidate, every single NDP candidate in the BC election is tweeting out one of three messages, all orchestrated from the BC NDP war room, about John Rustad being a science denier and a vaccine denier and all of that stuff because of the comments he used on CTV, the ones that I played for you. Well, that's what they do. And they did the same thing to Abi Khan a year and a half ago in Manitoba. But this guy here who was inside, who knows what's happening, is telling us all about it. And now he's receiving the same treatment, which I find ironic. But anyway, let's continue on here. This is very fascinating, isn't it?
For my part, I did not do that. I did not call Abi Khan a liar. I didn't participate in the social media pileup, and I didn't make any comments disparaging him or attacking his credibility. What I also didn't do is I didn't come forward at that time. And I am deeply ashamed of that. It was a test of character on my part, and I certainly didn't pass. And I certainly owe a huge apology to the people of Fort Garry. I suspect they would want more from their representative than what I showed that time. It was not a safe atmosphere. It was toxic and hostile in the caucus. And had I come forward, I absolutely would have been expelled from caucus by Wab. I also owe a huge apology to MLA Abi Khan. He was telling the truth, and my caucus knew it, and yet they cast dispersions on him. They attempted a character assassination and created a social media pilot. He didn't deserve any of that. He deserved to be believed. He was telling the truth. So my deepest apologies to Abi Khan. No politician should have to go through what he did and have that sort of black mark on his public record that people will always say that, oh, well, Obi was exaggerating or lying. He wasn't. And he shouldn't have his character impugned in that way. And I can say, if there's some poetic justice here, I have just lived through the exact same thing from the exact same people, from the exact same playbook, where the leader, Wab Kinew, and the leader's office put out a big lie, doubled down on the lie, and when they were under pressure, they attacked me personally and tried to demean my character. Almost a year ago, Wab Kinew came before the people of Manitoba and said, vote for me, trust me, I've changed. Well, you can see from the events, prior to the election and more recent events, that nothing has changed. And this is who Wab Kinew is, and this is the leader's office that he's created, and this is the toxic and dysfunctional environment in Manitoba politics today. So with those brief comments, if you have any questions, I would like to answer.
All right, so we're not going to listen to the boneheaded questions from the left-wing corporate media, although I do have to admit, you guys, I was surprised that the CBC had this on today. This is where this video comes from, the CBC on their YouTube, even though they do have the comments turned off, obviously. They allowed that to run. I guess the Wab Kinew hit squad didn't get to them in time and didn't know that Wasilou was going to have that press conference this morning. So I imagine they were in full-on panic mode later on this afternoon. And I don't know. I haven't seen anything yet. Maybe they're waiting for the smoke to clear. Maybe they're hoping that nobody has seen this. But they will have to address it at some point soon because the left-wing corporate media was there. And the left-wing corporate media will be asking Kinew questions about this. So, who is Wab Kinew? I do recall coming on this show and saying that he was going to be the next leader of the federal NDP. I think I said that about a month ago because Jagmeet Singh was just not cutting it. He's still just not cutting it. He almost got himself into 2 fights last week. One with actual fights. One with Pierre Poilievre in the House of Commons. I'm standing right here. Like, dude, that is not parliamentary. That is not prime ministerial. Picking fights. And then another guy who called him a name. That wasn't even that harsh, following him with a phone in the parking lot at the House of Commons last week. I mean, come on, man. Sticks and stones, just keep walking. It wasn't any kind of racial name. It wasn't anything like that. But the guy turns around and, gets up in his face, and I played the video of that on the show. Who is Wab Kinew, though? I mean, it's possible that if the NDP is able to whitewash what's happened here in Manitoba for the past week, that he could still be the federal leader of the NDP going forward. Might just have to delay it now by a couple of years because of this. But who is Wab Kinew? Why does he have such a bad temper? Bad childhood growing up? Maybe, possibly. Has he been in trouble with the law before? Has he lied before? Has he apologized before for his earlier behavior in his 20s? Yes. Does that make it okay? Maybe, if you don't do it again. But it looks like he's doing it again. We'll discuss who Wab Kinew is exactly in the extension on shadowdavis.com coming up in just a couple of minutes. Also, it looks to me like, and I've been kind of checking this out because it's interesting, more and more people of color will be voting for Donald Trump in the American election coming up, I think, in 40 days now. But there's a great viral video that's circulating out there that tells us why exactly more and more people of color are leaning towards Donald Trump. That and more coming up in the extension in just a couple of minutes for all access members at shadowdavis.com. I'll see you there in 2 minutes. For those of you who will not be joining us there, I'll catch you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central. for another Shadow at Night live stream. Until then, I love you all. I appreciate you all. And I will see you soon. Bye for now.